What's going on, YouTube? This is Rich. I'm making another video about why I quit Steven Transport. Okay. Like I said in my earlier previous videos, I worked for Stevens for about 7 years, on and off. And this past year, I had my final straw with them guys. You know, really, it boiled down to money, and it boiled down to commitment on Steven's part, and it boiled down to respect. You know, this last year, a lot of things were happening to me, and I try to hang on. One thing they teach you in trucking school is don't try to run at the first sign of trouble. Okay, because you'll find out in your career, if you haven't found out already, a lot of guys hop companies. You'll go into an orientation, and the guy next to you might have been to like 10 companies. Anytime something happened, he was gone. I didn't really want to be that kind of guy. I wanted to stick out through the good times and the hard times, especially with the driver manager situation and my mileage situation. Okay. But there was a couple things that really broke the straw. One of the biggest things that broke the straw was I was in California with a student. We had a load that ran early, and we have a drop yard in California. Okay, it's outside of Ontario. So I called the planner and I said, "Hey, listen, I got a load that's going to drop at the drop yard early. Do you have a pre-plan for me, or do you have anything for me?" "No, Rich, we ain't got nothing for you." No. Finally, this planner, his name is Joe. Apparently, he thought that I don't communicate with other trainers. And my buddy trainers were out there in California after me. And they all have pre-plans going to Brazelton, Georgia, or going to like Landover, Maryland, or going to, Columbus, Ohio, the Target, up in New London. Those are cross-country loads. And as a trainer and as a truck driver, you want those loads because they pay the most. Instead, I was being offered loads to Dallas or up to Wyoming, or to Denver, and I had a student on my truck who was a level 4. So that technically means that we could drive like 20 hours a day. So finally, me, I got tired of the bullshit. So I finally, approached him about it on the phone. And I said, "Joe, I've been here 7 years, man. Why do you keep giving me these crappy loads? Why don't you give me the Brazelton loads, or the New Jersey loads, or the Connecticut loads, or even loads to Chicago? Like, why am I getting these short runs when I got a student?" And he's going to say to me, "Well, because the mileage you've been running the last couple of weeks, even if I had a good load, I wouldn't give it to you." And that caught me by it. I was like, what? That's the whole job, to be a trucker. The drive. So basically he was putting me on a financial diet. Some piece of shit guy who, never knew my name, don't know my name, don't know my circumstances, And yeah, I had numbers to the executives upstairs. I could have called upstairs and complained and got stuff done. But you know what? You shouldn't have to threaten to quit every 5 minutes either. And I'm the type of guy, I like to lay low, as far as do my job and go home and get my check. So when he told me that, I said, "Man, you know what? Give me a load to Dallas." And even then, when I took a load to Dallas, I humbled with the idea of quitting. I was like, see, the thing with trucking, you want to be consistent in trucking, and you want to have a job, man, for purposes of buying a house or mortgage. If you're always quitting jobs, there's no consistency in you, unfortunately. But sometimes these trucking companies force you to chase cents and force your hand. And that was one red flag to me. Here I am with a student, and I didn't have the miles, And at Stevens, you got to run miles. So, basically planners are putting you on a financial diet, which is unacceptable to me. Okay. That would make a man want to really do some things, loses cool and ready to get into a fight, really, So I didn't want to go that far, and I didn't want to be that type of guy, you know. So that was one straw. Next straw was I had a student guy in Miami. I don't know if you listen to my other videos, but the guy, he was, Stevens Transport. So you got to ask yourself, one thing. Why is there always a class orientation, like every day? Okay. They literally bring in 30 to 40 people in twice a week. They bring so much people in that they got to book a hotel, the whole entire hotel for them. My question was, there's a reason for that. And the reason is sometimes they push some of these guys through trucking school. And this particular guy, they pushed him through trucking school. He almost killed us, We were driving down Tucson, Arizona on I-10. Traffic was stopped. We were loaded 80,000 pounds. That's 40 tons to people who don't understand what the pounds on a truck is. And because of that, you can't stop on a dime. It might take you a football field or two to stop at full speed. This guy was coming down a mountain hill about 70 miles an hour, and right in front of him, not even a quarter mile, was stopped traffic. Now I'm going to tell you what happens to a truck when it hits stopped traffic. If it hits the back of a truck, we die. If it hits the back of a car, y'all die. Excuse me. Hey, YouTube. I had a phone call, just continuing my my talk. But like I was saying, if a truck fully loaded slams to the back of a regular car, it would cut through the car like a hot knife to butter. I mean, there would be probably no damage to the truck. There was a situation in Houston. A Stevens driver, a trainee at that, was driving down I-10, I think heading westbound I-10, and the trainer was back there sleeping. See, when you're in training, the goal is to have your trainer go back and sleep so he doesn't watch you, because you're supposed to be doing everything, safety wise that he has taught you if you had a good trainer. So what happened to this guy is he came upon traffic that was staying still, and sometimes traffic appears to be moving, but it's not. And you got to have the depth perception to understand the two. So anyway, the guy went and he slammed the back of a minivan, and he killed a grandma and like 3 of her babies. A couple of days before Thanksgiving too, And they recently sentenced him to like 10 to 15 years or something. I mean, he got jail time for that, So, anyway, back to me, when this guy did that, that was another straw, and I put him out, and it was a series of things that financially just wasn't adding up with Stevens no more, And then I had that big question in my head: can I do better? Like, as an alliance driver with Stevens Transport, okay, you have to have a student in your truck to make money. You have to. There's guys who run solo there, and I don't get their drift why they do it, because you can't possibly make that much money being a solo alliance driver. I mean, you would struggle. If I'm wrong, then maybe I had the game all messed up. But man, I've been there 7 years, and I peeped it out. It's a lot of miles to be running for low pay. I don't care if you made $1,000 a week or $1,200 a week. That's low pay. That is. Especially when you're leasing the truck, not to own either. You're borrowing the truck. You're responsible for everything on the truck. So, I think that, with those things going on, and with the bad taste in my mouth from the planners at Stevens Transport, and I had a DM who was just dumb. He didn't care. And you shouldn't have to go to a place where you complain all the time. It was getting overwhelming, so I finally decided to leave. I'm glad, now the way I quit And I'm gonna tell you something. I made a mistake on the way I quit. I let them know, kind of up front. And when I let them know, I'm gonna tell you what Stevens did. They held my last paycheck. I never got it. They owed me a couple $100, never received it. So I'm gonna tell you guys this. I need you to pay attention to what I'm about to say. Okay, this is one of the things. Pay attention. If you ever quit Stevens Transport, the day you quit is the day you receive your money in your bank account. Let me repeat that again. The day you quit Stevens Transport is the day you receive your money in your bank account. Okay? So if you turn the truck in on Monday, you don't turn the truck in on Monday. You drop it out the yard. You tell your dispatcher, say, listen, I need to go to Dallas for a few days. I got a sick aunt or something. You make up some story. And then once that direct deposit hits your account, you tell them you quit. Okay? I knew that. But what happened was I got a load from North Carolina to Dallas. And I ran it so hard because I was just ready to turn the truck in that I was mad early on it. So what they do, they called me and they're like, hey, Rich, I need you to repower somebody in Mississippi. He's going to bring you an empty trailer and you're going to give him your load. Okay, yeah, you know what? Mississippi from Dallas is about 500 miles. I was like, I'm just going to hit that load. And, so I gave it up. And I deadheaded from Mississippi, I think Meridian, to Dallas, Texas. It was like 550 miles. Next day I get a call and they're like, why did you deadhead that far? They don't want you deadhead more than 300 miles, especially to the yard. And I should have lied and said, listen, I had a funeral to go to or something. But I was like, look, I'm done. You're quitting? Yeah, I'm quitting. And see, that was my fault. I should have told them I quit when I got my paycheck. I should have told them I had an emergency, I need to get to the yard. But, being frustrated with them and shit like that. Let me tell you guys a quick story real quick. I had a student, right? What's his name? I think his name was Reggie or something like that. He was a Alliance driver. He was quitting. So I told him, I said, when you quit Alliance, the day you quit is when you get your paycheck. Don't give him any notice. You quit that day, you get your paycheck. I'll tell you what Stevens did. He drove about 3,200 miles that week prior. He was busting his ass because he needed a check to pay his rent. He needed money. Okay, I don't care what he did. It was his money. He worked for it. On that Saturday, he had a load going to Dallas. He dropped his load off in Dallas. On Monday, he went to the yard and he actually told them, the dispatcher, that he was resigning. That was a big mistake. What Stevens do, and they do to this all drivers, company or Alliance, doesn't matter. They froze his account. The reason they froze his account, they were going over the truck with a fine-tooth comb. Now, mind you, the trucks they give you, sometimes they're used. They already got issues. The last guy who had the truck had issues. So now they're going to blame you for that. So long story short, he didn't get his paycheck on Thursday like he should have. He didn't get a check until about 45 days later. And the check he should have got, which should have been about $1,200 or $1,100, was about $400. Paper check. Stevens had took away all the deductions. There was a scratch on the hood. The tires are worn down. This and that. The shit has to be illegal that they're doing that. That's some scamming shit. Okay? I understand if you bring the truck back and it's severely damaged or something's broken on there, but to charge a guy for wear on the tires that you don't change. And here's the thing. When he turned that truck in on Monday, that truck went back out on the road like Tuesday or Wednesday. And unless something was really majorly wrong with it, they was sent out the same way it came in. That's a scam. That's a hustle. That's bullshit. So, I'm just done with Stevens. Just done. There's no loyalty there. You know, you could be working there years and get treated like a nut. You know, I had a driver manager supervisor, Jim Adams. When I was having issues with my students, and they were kind of blaming me for the shit, instead of him being supportive, he actually blamed me too. You know, mind you, if a student shows me that they can't handle the truck, you know, I gotta stay with them. I gotta watch them like a hawk. Sorry, my life is important. I got family to take care of. You know, and sometimes I can't run those 20-hour loads. You know, but they don't care. They're a company. You know, if I, like I said in my earlier videos, if I were to die, they'll just pay the insurance company and they'll collect the check. And if I had something for my family, they'll give them that, I guess. You know. So, you know, I just had to leave, man. I mean, I have stories upon stories there at Stephen Transport. I'm not going to say that they're a terrible company, they should be closed down or anything like that. But they pride themselves on being a starter company. And they don't care. And, you know, when you think about it, you know, if I was in their position as ownership, you know, and I knew that my bread and butter was just getting people in the industry and not really trying to have them stay around long, you know, I wouldn't care either. You know, like I said in previous videos, I never met ownership. I never seen them come down the hallway. Even on like Truck Appreciation Day, you know, I never seen them. You know, Stevens it's a learning lesson for life. You know. If I can give you advice, just figure out everything you need to figure out, you know, about this business before you get into it. Because you're going to get used, you know. You know, this is part of the game, you know. So anyway, yeah, I quit Stevens. And I'll make another video about my current company. Any questions, like, subscribe, comment. Take it easy. Until next time. Peace.